This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium-quality travel gear, like the Taskin Air Duo dual-sided compression packing cubes. One side's 100% air breathable to keep clean clothes fresh and wrinkle-free. The other side's odor and water-resistant to keep dirty laundry sealed up tight. Now you can pack up to 40% more in the same space. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at TaskinSF.com.
Rise and shine, you marvelous little mischief monkey, because you're just in time for an all-new episode of the Rick and Rick Marketing Podcast.
That's right. We're here with the Rick's artisanal blend of news and views from the worlds of marketing, media, tech, and pop culture.
Including the Thunderbolts getting a rebrand.
Plus, loaded questions and a whole lot more.
And it all starts right here, right now, on the one show where everybody arrives in the Rick of time and everybody rules the world.
Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to an all-new edition of Rick and Rick Rule the World. This is Rick Matheson with my good pal, Rick Wooten. And Rick Wooten, it has been a minute. How you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. It seems like I've been all over the place. I've been from Napa to Sacramento to Reno to Las Vegas and down to San Diego and back to the Bay Area. So last couple months I've been running around everywhere.
We've both been so busy, folks. I was traveling a bit, and we have not done a show, in several weeks, so it's great to catch up with you again. And it is great to catch up with listeners, because we've got a great show for you today, and we're going to kick off things, as always, with Rick and Rick Radar Love, things that are hitting our radars from pop culture. And one thing, Rick, it's a couple weeks now, we've exchanged some texts about Ryan Coogler's movie, Sinners. I got to tell you, I saw it, the night before it opened officially, and I'm still finding myself thinking about it. And in fact, I bought the soundtrack and I've been listening to it ever since.
That's awesome. I think I messaged you about this, but the guy towards the end who was playing the guitar in the bar or whatever, he actually is a legit musician, and he's traveling through the area. You can actually go see him.
I guess technically it is a vampire horror movie, but it is such a genre-bending movie. If you go to it expecting, all-out gross-out fest, you'll get that, but it's a lot more than that. It's a drama. It's a period piece.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Rick, but I found the characters extremely well fleshed out.
Yeah.
The movie stars Michael B. Jordan, and here he's twins, and they used a halo technology to pull off being able to have them interact in the same scenes.
Right.
Sometimes it was seamless. Other times it was clearly a double, standing in. But for the most part, they pulled that off pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they had definitely figured out some magic in a few of the different scenes, particularly how they handed stuff off. If I had to criticize it all, I'd say they kind of used it too much. I felt like that there were definitely a couple of scenes that it felt like they did that scene specifically so that they could have the two characters interact with each other.
Yeah.
But I think they pushed the envelope, and they absolutely did it in a way that I haven't seen other movies be quite as successful.
Yeah. Now, the person I was just floored by, though, was Miles Keaton. He is Preacher Boy, Sammy, in the movie.
Yeah.
This kid, he's 20 years old. It's his first movie, just an extraordinary actor. But the moment he opens his mouth to sing, you're just kind of blown away.
Absolutely. Now, was that really him?
It was really him singing.
Wow.
And he plays the guitar in it, and apparently he learned how to play the guitar for the movie.
That's amazing.
And everyone on set thought he'd been playing his whole life.
Wow.
The movie takes place in the Jim Crow era South, and this movie is infused with blues music. I forget who says it in the movie, but they say something like, when you're that talented, you will make contact with your ancestors and even people of the future. But if you aren't careful, you'll also get the attention of the devil himself. And there's a scene that is extraordinary. Preacher Boy starts singing, and all of a sudden you see amongst the crowd and playing with him, adding to the music that he is playing, tribesmen and shamans and things like that. And then you see a DJ and a rap singer adding to his music, and he gets the attention of a vampire. And if a vampire takes a victim, he gains their memories and their music. And so he hears Preacher Boy, and he wants his story, he wants his music. It was just amazing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I was very impressed by the movie. You mentioned this earlier. I felt like the key characters were really well developed. I thought the pace was mostly good, maybe a little bit slow in the center in Act 2. And then by act 3, it got a little predictable, but again, it just kept moving, right? It kept pulling you through, and it was a long movie, but it didn't feel like it when you're actually watching it. I also thought that the characters, not only were they well fleshed out, they're really believable, right? They, like, the stories that they put around each of the characters, to me, felt like something that I could picture being true. And again, it was a period piece, so putting yourself back in time, in that time frame, like, all of it seems legit and something that that could be, it could be believable. And the soundtrack was phenomenal. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. And there's some scenes that stood out to me. I had a slightly different take on the scene where they were in the bar and all the historical musicians was coming in and out. I thought visually it was really cool. And it may have been the theater that I was in, but the audio got a little jumbled to me. And I had a bit of a hard time feeling like it was all going together. It felt like I lost the thread a little bit with the storytelling at that point. And I wish something was different there, because visually it was so impressive. I knew that there was more to it, but something was just off. And it was in a decent theater, so I'm not sure what happened there.
That's a bummer that it wasn't quite sinking for you.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, because you're not the only one that said that scene was absolutely amazing, but it was just a little bit off. I don't know what it was. But the one thing that cracked me up, though, and I watched the movie with longtime listener Jerry, and one of the things that I said is, this is like a couple different movies I've already seen kind of put together. I thought, at the beginning of the movie it was one thing, and then by the end of the movie it was like, this has got totally From Dusk Till Dawn vibes going on. And so, which, by the way, I love all the movies that I'm referring to. So I thought I felt like it was really pretty original, but then there was a little bit of a commonality with some other stuff. That said, I highly recommend this movie. I thought it was a really well executed movie. To your point, it's not your typical vampire horror action flick. The pace is kind of similar, maybe not quite as fast, but pretty close to it. But there's a little more story to it. There's a little more depth to it, and that I really enjoyed.
My understanding is, so it has done $240 million in the global box office so far. I don't believe it is the top vampire movie in the US ever, but it is the top vampire movie internationally ever.
Wow.
And apparently, Warner Brothers was so interested in working with Coogler. He was the director of both of the Black Panther movies for Marvel, and I think his debut movie was Fruitvale Station. He's from the Bay Area. He had a scholarship, I think, for football to St. Mary's. He was studying chemistry. The teacher talked him into pursuing screenwriting, and he ended up transferring to USC, and then Fruitvale Station was his debut. But anyway, they wanted to work with him so much that they gave him an extraordinary pay package, but also he gains ownership of the movie after 25 years.
Wow.
So in 2050, he and or his estate will own the movie outright.
Wow.
I don't believe that has ever been done for any director before.
I think I just read that that's becoming a more common thing within music, where the artists are negotiating that after a period of time, the rights to their music revert back to them. So maybe this is Hollywood kind of following trend with the billboards.
An extraordinary movie. If you haven't seen this, folks, definitely go see it. When we come back from this short break, it's going to be time for the good, the bad, and the marketing, including a remarkable marketing stunt on the part of Marvel's movie Thunderbolts. Stay tuned.
Hey, Rick and Rick Nation, don't forget to check out our all-new website at rickandrick.com, where you can listen to new and archived episodes, join in on the conversation, or, just make fun of our photos. It's double the Rick in just one click at rickandrick.com. You see how I did that? It was clever, wasn't it?
I like that.
And welcome back to Rick and Rick Rule the World. This is Rick Matheson and Rick Wooten, and it's time for the good, the bad, and the marketing. And we're going to kick things off here with Marvel's Thunderbolts. You saw this, right?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought this was a fun movie, and I've made this comment a couple times recently that I feel like Marvel's kind of found its mojo again, and I think this is a good example of it. I don't think this is the best Marvel movie, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun. I think they had really good charisma between the characters. The humor was placed well. It was fun without being too silly. So the special effects were for the most part good. There was a couple times it fell apart, but generally, I felt like they were hitting on all cylinders cylinders on this one. And it was nice to see that because they kind of lost their way for about a year or two. And I feel like they're really kind of coming back. What did you think about it at first blush?
It reminded me somewhat of Suicide Squad. These are kind of like anti-heroes who have kind of pulled together. It is action-packed. There's a lot of fun. But it does at least attempt to go a little deeper here because Florence Pugh, she's always perfect, but her Yelena, who was a programmed assassin for most of her life, is deeply depressed, and she even contemplates suicide in the movie. So the movie kind of explores finding purpose in your life and that sort of thing. And you got to give it some credit. That's not a theme that you see in superhero movies typically. And it somehow balances with just a lot of rip-roaring fun.
We've seen all these characters before, so we kind of had a backstory on it. Like, we've seen Yelena in previous movies. We've seen the Red Guardian. We've even seen Ghost and Bucky Barnes, of course, in previous movies. But it was nice to see them kind of come together and form up into a team. And so I thought that was fun. And I'll tell you, I'm familiar with the original Thunderbolts story, the one from 1997. It was actually part of an Incredible Hulk comic book. And it started out as a very different group of people. I mean, in this movie, they were all kind of anti-heroes. But in the original one, it was actually a group of villains pretending to be heroes. They were just pure-on villains trying to manipulate everyone. If I remember right, that was Citizen V, Screaming Mimi, Goliath, Beetle, Moonstone, and Fixer was the original one. And, over time, it kind of evolved and became something a little bit different. And I feel like the movie did a really good job at capturing a lot of those elements and capturing that idea of good and bad and, people kind of, coming to good. And it was just fun.
Did you say one of the characters' names was Screaming Mimi?
Yes. She actually became a real superhero later in the series.
That's hilarious. I'm going to have to look that one up. In fact, I had to think a little bit about all these characters just because they were from scattered movies, and I had never seen the TV show that John Walker's character was from. Who was he?
So after Captain America gave up the shield, the government decided to bring out a new Captain America, and they chose John Walker to do that. And he was Captain America for a period of time, a number of episodes on Disney. And then he actually brutally murdered somebody on camera, just kind of got carried away. And so they stripped him of Captain America. And so Valentina then basically recruited him, and then he became U.S. agent. And so that's the character he's playing here.
Big spoiler here, folks. So last scene of this movie, this head of Black Ops, played by Julie Louis-Dreyfus, kind of pulls a switcheroo to get herself out of some hot water by conveying that she had pulled together these Thunderbolts who were now officially the new Avengers. And Marvel came out with a marketing campaign where the posters removed Thunderbolts from the title and has said that moving forward, this movie is called The New Avenger, which was kind of a fun marketing stunt. It is the whole point of the asterisk. But I'm just curious, as a longtime Marvel Comics fan, what was your reaction to that?
I kind of expected it. And because I'm familiar with the storyline, I kind of had an idea of where they're going. So I guess I wasn't that surprised, but I'm glad they did it. I think it's great. What I really liked, and I'm really curious how they're going to go about this, is if you remember in one of the last scenes, they had said that a couple of the truer Avengers had gotten together and started using the name The Avengers, and that was going to be a problem for them. So it was kind of interesting because they addressed that towards the end of the movie, but it kind of left it on a cliffhanger, making you think that the new Avengers are going to conflict with the Avengers at some point.
Yeah, they did say something like that, and I did find that interesting. And, now I am intrigued to see how they blend them all together with, I guess, the next Avengers movie, and I believe it's Avengers Doomsday, right?
I think so.
So somehow they're going to have to join forces. It'll be the original Avengers people, or it'll be some kind of mix of these.
Yeah, and one of the movies that's coming out that I'm really excited about is Secret Wars. That's a big film for them to try and do. Like, I remember reading the comics, and it's interesting. And they are building towards it, by the way. Like, some of the stuff they're doing with Galactus, what they're doing, even with the Fantastic Four, kind of relates to it. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if they decide to pull away from that, what's going to happen. I'm really curious because it's either going to be amazing or it's going to be a complete letdown. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel, but I really hope they don't.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot beyond what you've told me about that particular storyline, but it does sound like it is at a scale, the story anyway from the comics would eclipse even Endgame. correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it basically, they would pull all the characters, all the Marvel universe into one story. And again, they did that in Endgame, but it was just the heroes. In Secret Wars, they also pool all the villains.
And wasn't it also the different realities versions of Captain America?
Yeah. So there's a couple different Secret Wars storylines. You know, in the newer one with this multiverse thing, they actually pulled the best hero from every multiverse, the best, you know, prime version of them, and made them fight to the death kind of situation. That's the storyline I think that they're going to try and do versus the original one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off. But we've got, I don't know how many movies in between to pull that off. We've got Fantastic Four, which is set almost 70 years ago. So I don't know how those characters will fit in, if at all, with the Secret Wars storyline. And we have Doom. And what else? What other movie? Oh, we got Spider-Man. That's 2026. It is with Tom Holland, right?
Yeah. And the other two actors only did 3 movies, so this would be the first one with 4. So that's kind of cool. And he's rumored to be the Spider-Man in Secret Wars.
Well, it'll be fun to see. It's exciting to see Marvel ramping back up again. So here's hoping. Here's hoping you'll stick with us, everybody, because on the other side of this break, we are going to play some loaded questions. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium quality travel gear, like the Taskin Air Duo dual-sided compression packing cubes. One side's 100% air breathable to keep clean clothes fresh and wrinkle-free. The other side's odor and water-resistant to keep dirty laundry sealed up tight. Now you can pack up to 40% more in the same space. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at taskinsf.com.
And welcome back to Rick and Rick Rule the World. This is Rick Matheson and Rick Wooten, and it is time for Rick and Rick Loaded Questions. This is our multiple choice quiz game that tests your knowledge of recent happenings in the worlds of marketing, media, tech, and pop culture. Are you ready to play Loaded Questions?
Let's do this.
First question. Which of the following consumer packaged goods brands has launched an updated logo, a revamped jingle, an experiential initiative at the Sphere in Las Vegas, a series of drone show spectaculars, and more? Is it A, Mountain Dew, B, Kit Kat, C, Oscar Mayer Wieners, or D, Chuck's Chainsaw Rental and Limo Service? Which of these has launched a brand refresh that includes an updated logo, jingle, and experience at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and more?
I think I saw something about Mountain Dew doing something at the Sphere, so I'm going to guess Mountain Dew.
You are correct. So according to
Nice.
according to Media Post, Mountain Dew refreshed its brand logo. I guess this happened a few months ago, but it is being rolled out nationwide right now. So Mountain Dew has been spelled as MTN and then Dew. Well, now it will be fully Mountain Dew, the word mountain spelled out. And it's being rolled out with a new 30-second commercial featuring the Mountain Dew character and a reprise of its Gimme a Dew jingle from the 1980s. Rick, I went and found this. I have no recollection of this song, so I don't know what part of the 1980s this appeared in. But at any rate, the refresh apparently is part of an effort to associate Mountain Dew with outdoor fun. Now, there is going to be this experience at the Sphere and apparently drone shows in various cities nationwide. But the weirdest part about this all, Rick, is that the brand is also giving fans with tattoos of their old logo the chance to send in photos of their tattoos for the chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Las Vegas where they'll receive a new tattoo of the new Mountain Dew logo at Mario Barth's Starlight Tattoo Studio. I'm not making that up. I did not know that there was a whole subset of the population who walked around with Mountain Dew tattoos. I looked it up, and there is.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
People are walking around with Mountain Dew tattoos, and yeah, there are quite
awesome.
a bit of them. So yeah, I was surprised by that. So anyway, who knew?
That's awesome.
Next question. Also in recent weeks, and also involving brand refreshes, what B2B company reportedly launched what some have described as a $1 billion corporate rebrand? Was it A, OpenAI's ChatGPT image generator division, B, WPP's Group M, C, Cracker Barrel, D, PricewaterhouseCoopers, or E, Marvel's Thunderbolts?
Wow, I don't know this one, so this is going to be a pure guess. Let's go with C, because C is always the right answer, which was PwC.
Well, that was D, but you are correct. PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. So on April 29th, PwC launched what it called its first global brand update in over a decade. It's a brand update that, from all appearances, seems to center around a slightly tweaked logo and wordmark that may or may not have otherwise gone completely unnoticed by most people. It was an improvement, I'll tell you that. Now, I don't know where this $1 billion figure came around. The closest I can figure out is that it may be referring to an announcement about PwC investing $1 billion into generative AI technology through 2026. So I think people have kind of gotten that mixed up. I can't imagine how they would have spent $1 billion. You'd have to be buying the sphere. All right, last question. It's official. Panda Express is becoming A, an eyesore, B, a karaoke bar, C, a boba tea bar, D, a retail distribution channel for Ozempic, E, Rick and Rick's home away from home, or F, all of the above.
Exactly.
Panda Express is officially becoming what?
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to guess the boba tea thing.
I think I probably would have guessed that too. Answer here actually is B, or at least temporarily. So Adweek is reporting that in its ongoing efforts to attract younger consumers, Panda Express is launching karaoke pop-ups at select Panda Express locations. Now, according to Media Post, the QSR brand describes the pop-up effort as, quote, a one-of-a-kind karaoke experience called Panda-okie, with locations transformed into, quote, lively karaoke hubs where guests can grab the mic and share a meal. Now, I want you to picture this. I am sure that the people trapped in line waiting to place their order are going to really love you for getting up and grabbing the mic and start singing.
Dude, I don't know about this one. This is so weird.
Apparently, you'll know if your local Panda Express has been Panda-okeified by the 7-foot-tall version of the brand's red panda out front.
That is so insane.
But that still doesn't mean it won't be Rick and Rick's home away from home. That's got to be it for this episode of Rick and Rick Rule the World. Do us a solid and subscribe to Rick and Rick on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. If it's Apple, please smash that 5 stars button as well. It'll help others discover the show. You can find us online at rickandrick.com, and be sure to drop us a line. Our email address is rick@rickandrick.com. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep on kicking ass and keep on coming back to the one show where everybody's name is Rick.
And everybody rules the world.